I never thought signing a piece of paper would destroy me. But standing in Julian Blackwood's penthouse office, staring at the contract that promised me $50,000 for 30 days of pretending to be his girlfriend, I had no idea I was signing away something far more valuable than my time. I was signing away my heart. The eviction notice felt like sandpaper between my fingers. 3 days. I had 3 days to come up with 2 months' rent, or I'd be sleeping in my studio, surrounded by unsold paintings that were apparently too emotional and not commercial enough according to every gallery in Manhattan. I crumpled the notice and hurled it across my cramped apartment. It bounced off a canvas of a stormy sea, one of my favorites that no one wanted to buy. The irony wasn't lost on me. I painted turbulent emotions for a living, and now I was drowning in them. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Charlotte Hayes? The voice was smooth, professional, female. Speaking. My name is Diana Chen. I'm the personal assistant to Julian Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Industries. Mr. Blackwood would like to meet with you regarding a business proposition. Are you available this afternoon? I blinked. Julian Blackwood. I'd heard the name, everyone had. Tech billionaire, 32 years old, appeared on Forbes covers looking like he'd stepped out of a cologne advertisement. But why would he want to meet with a struggling artist who could barely afford ramen? I think you have the wrong Charlotte Hayes. You attended the Berkshire Charity Gala 2 weeks ago as a volunteer coordinator, correct? My stomach dropped. I had volunteered at that event, hoping to network with wealthy art collectors. I'd spent most of the evening refilling champagne flutes and directing tipsy socialites to the bathrooms. Yes, but Mr. Blackwood noticed you. He has a proposal. Can you be at Blackwood Tower at 4? Every rational cell in my brain screamed this was suspicious. But the eviction notice on my floor screamed louder. I'll be there. Blackwood Tower pierced the Manhattan skyline like a shard of obsidian. I stood in the marble lobby, feeling utterly out of place in my thrift store blazer and scuffed flats. Everyone here looked like they'd stepped off a runway, all sharp suits and designer bags. The elevator ride to the 68th floor made my ears pop. When the doors opened, I stepped into a reception area that probably cost more than I'd make in a lifetime. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view that made the city look like a toy model. Ms. Hayes. Diana Chen appeared, an elegant woman in her 40s with a sleek black bob and an expression that revealed nothing. This way. She led me through glass doors into an office that redefined excess. But I barely noticed the decor. My attention locked on the man standing by the windows. Julian Blackwood turned, and the air left my lungs. Photos didn't do him justice. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair styled in that effortlessly perfect way that probably required a team of professionals. His suit was charcoal gray, tailored so precisely it looked painted on. But it was his face that made my pulse stutter. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, and eyes so dark they were nearly black, framed by lashes that would make angels weep. He was beautiful in a dangerous way. Like a blade. Ms. Hayes. His voice matched his appearance, smooth, deep, with an edge that suggested he was used to being obeyed. Thank you for coming. I'm confused about why I'm here, I said, proud that my voice didn't shake. His lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile. Direct. I appreciate that. He gestured to the leather chairs facing his desk. Please, sit. I sat. He didn't. He leaned against his desk, arms crossed, studying me with an intensity that made me feel like a specimen under glass. I need a girlfriend, he said. I waited for the punchline. None came. A fake one, he clarified. For 30 days. I'm sorry, what? He pushed off the desk, moving to a sidebar where he poured amber liquid into 2 glasses. He offered me one. I took it because I needed something to do with my hands. I'm in the final stages of a merger with Yamamoto Technologies, he said. Kenji Yamamoto is traditional, family-oriented. He believes business partners should reflect stable, committed personal lives. He's expressed concerns about my reputation. Your reputation? I'm in the tabloids frequently. Different woman every week, according to them. Yamamoto sees this as a character flaw. The merger is worth $800 million. I'm not letting it fall apart because of gossip columns. I took a sip of whiskey. It burned beautifully. So you need me to pretend to be your steady, stable girlfriend to convince this man you're mature and committed. I took a sip of whiskey. It burned beautifully. So you need me to pretend to be your steady, stable girlfriend to convince this man you're mature and committed. For 30 days. Yamamoto arrives next week for extended negotiations. He'll be observing me closely, business dinners, social events, the charity gala we're co-hosting. I need someone by my side who appears genuine. Someone not from my usual circles. Someone real. Why me? You could hire a professional. An actress. I tried that route. They all performed too much. You, on the other hand, spent an entire gala making sure everyone else was comfortable while looking thoroughly miserable yourself. You're authentic in a way that can't be faked. I should have been insulted. Instead, I was intrigued. What exactly would this involve? You'd attend events with me. Hold my hand. Smile adoringly. Convince everyone we're together. In return, I'll pay you $50,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. $50,000. I could pay rent for a year. Buy actual art supplies. Maybe even afford a real gallery showing. That's a lot of money for holding hands. His dark eyes locked on mine. There would be more than hand-holding. We'd need to sell this. That means physical affection in public. Kissing, if necessary. Nothing behind closed doors, he added quickly. This is strictly professional. But it needs to look real. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was insane. Completely insane. Why would I trust you? I don't know you. Diana will provide you with a contract outlining every detail. You'll have 24 hours to review it with a lawyer. Everything will be clear, consensual, and professional. Professional. Right. Because there was something professional about a billionaire paying me to be his fake girlfriend. But $50,000. I need to think about this. Of course. He pulled a card from his pocket, holding it out. His fingers brushed mine as I took it, and electricity sparked up my arm. His eyes flickered, like he felt it too. Call Diana tomorrow with your decision. I stood on shaky legs. Can I ask you something? Yes. Why don't you just find a real girlfriend? Something dark crossed his face. Because real is complicated. This is simple. Transactional. No one gets hurt. Famous last words. I didn't sleep that night. I read the contract 17 times. My lawyer, my roommate's cousin who just passed the bar, read it twice and declared it airtight but fair. The terms were clear. 30 days, starting immediately. Attend all required events as Julian's girlfriend. Maintain the illusion of a committed relationship in public. $25,000 upfront, $25,000 upon completion. Strict confidentiality clause. No intimate relations in private. Either party could terminate with 48 hours notice. It's legitimate, my lawyer said. Unusual as hell, but legitimate. Are you really going to do this? I thought about the eviction notice. My empty bank account. The dreams I'd deferred for so long they were starting to feel like delusions. Yes. Diana picked me up the next morning in a sleek black car. First stop, styling. Styling? Mr. Blackwood's girlfriend would have a certain aesthetic. Don't worry. He's covering all expenses. The next 4 hours were a whirlwind. A salon where they did things to my hair that I didn't know were possible. A makeup artist who taught me the natural look that required 17 products. A boutique where a consultant pulled dresses that cost more than my monthly rent. I stared at myself in the mirror. My wild auburn curls had been tamed into glossy waves. My green eyes popped with subtle makeup. The emerald dress hugged curves I'd forgotten I had. I looked like someone who belonged in Julian Blackwood's world. I looked like a stranger. He's going to love it, the stylist gushed. But I wasn't doing this for him to love it. This was business. Professional. Transactional. Keep telling yourself that, Charlotte. That evening, Diana delivered me to Julian's penthouse for a strategy session. The elevator required a key card and opened directly into his apartment. Calling it an apartment was like calling the ocean a puddle. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around 3 sides, offering a view of Manhattan that made me dizzy. Everything was sleek, modern, expensive, all blacks and grays and chrome. Ms. Hayes. Julian emerged from a hallway, and my breath caught. He'd changed into dark jeans and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms that had no business being that distracting. His hair was slightly mussed, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked more human like this. More dangerous. His eyes traveled over me, and something heated in their depths. You look different? I supplied. Beautiful. The word landed between us, heavy with meaning. He cleared his throat. The styling is perfect. You'll fit right in. Right. Because I'd been purchased to fit in. He led me to the living area, where champagne and sushi waited on the coffee table. We sat on opposite ends of his massive leather couch, a careful, professional distance. We need to get our story straight, he said, all business now. How we met, how long we've been together, the details that make a relationship believable. For the next hour, we crafted our fiction. We'd met at the gala, that part was true. I'd been coordinating volunteers, he'd been charmed by my authenticity, we'd been secretly dating for 3 weeks. I was an artist, not too serious yet, which explained why I wasn't famous. He valued my normalcy and how I kept him grounded. It was a good story. Almost believable. We need to practice, Julian said, setting down his champagne. Practice what? Physical affection. It needs to look natural, not rehearsed. My mouth went dry. Oh. He shifted closer, and suddenly that professional distance evaporated. His thigh nearly touched mine. I could smell his cologne, something dark and woodsy that made my head spin. May I? He reached for my hand. I nodded, not trusting my voice. His fingers laced through mine, and that electricity from yesterday returned with a vengeance. His hands were large, warm, slightly rough in a way that suggested he did more than push papers. Eye contact is important, he murmured, his dark gaze locking onto mine. Couples in love look at each other like they're the only person in the room. I couldn't look away if I tried. This close, I could see flecks of amber in his dark eyes, could count his unfairly long lashes. You're a natural, he said softly. So are you. His thumb stroked across my knuckles, a gentle, absent gesture that felt too real. We should practice more. More? Kissing. The word hung in the air between us. It will be expected. Better to get the awkwardness out of the way now. Awkward. Right. Because kissing a man who looked like a dark angel would definitely be awkward and not at all like setting myself on fire. Okay, I whispered. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His free hand cupped my jaw, thumb brushing my cheekbone. My eyes fluttered closed. His lips touched mine, and the world tilted. It started soft, tentative, a test. But then something ignited. His mouth moved against mine with expert precision, coaxing my lips apart. The kiss deepened, and I heard a small sound escape my throat. His hand slid into my hair, angling my head for better access, and I gripped his shirt, needing an anchor. This wasn't professional. This wasn't practice. This was combustion. He pulled back abruptly, breathing hard. His eyes were darker than before, pupils blown wide. That was... Yeah. My voice came out raspy. We stared at each other, the air thick with something that definitely wasn't in the contract. Will be convincing, he said finally. Very. He stood, putting distance between us. Your first event is tomorrow night. Dinner with Yamamoto and his wife. Diana will brief you on protocol. Just like that, we were back to business. But my lips still burned, and I could still taste him, whiskey and mint and something uniquely Julian. I gathered my new purse and headed for the elevator. At the last second, I turned back. He stood by the windows, hands in his pockets, watching me. Julian? Yes? This is just pretend, right? His jaw tightened. Of course. The elevator doors closed, but I caught his reflection in the chrome. He dragged a hand through his hair, looking shaken. Good. At least I wasn't alone in this. The restaurant was the kind of place where they didn't list prices on the menu because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. I sat beside Julian in a private dining room, hyper-aware of his hand resting possessively on my knee under the table. Kenji Yamamoto was a distinguished man in his 60s with sharp eyes that missed nothing. His wife, Akiko, was elegant and warm, asking me questions about my art with genuine interest. Charlotte's work is extraordinary, Julian said, his fingers squeezing my knee gently. She captures emotion in a way that's rare. Raw. I turned to him, surprised. We'd barely discussed my actual art. His eyes met mine with such warmth that I almost forgot we were acting. I have 3 of her pieces in my penthouse. I can't stop looking at them. That was news to me. You must show us, Akiko said, delighted. I'd be honored, I managed. The dinner continued, and I fell into the role more easily than expected. Julian's hand found mine on the table. He touched my lower back when we stood. When I laughed at something Kenji said, Julian's smile was soft, affectionate, proud. He was a phenomenal actor. Almost too phenomenal. In the car afterward, we sat in silence until the privacy screen rose between us and the driver. You were perfect, Julian said. You're a good liar. His head snapped toward me. Excuse me? That whole thing about having my paintings. Very convincing. I wasn't lying. I stared at him. What? He pulled out his phone, scrolling before handing it to me. Photos of his penthouse, walls I hadn't seen during my brief visit. 3 paintings hung in prominent positions. My paintings. The Stormy Sea. A piece about loneliness I'd titled Crowded Room. Another about hope called First Light. When did you? I couldn't finish the sentence. After the gala. I looked you up, found your website. I bought them anonymously. Why? He took his phone back, not meeting my eyes. Because they made me feel something. That's rare. The car pulled up to my building, which looked especially shabby next to his sleek vehicle. Julian. Yamamoto was impressed with you, he interrupted. With us. This is going to work. He was retreating behind his professional mask. I recognized the move because I was trying to do the same thing. Same time tomorrow? I asked. Diana will send the schedule. I reached for the door handle, but his hand caught my wrist. Charlotte. I looked back. Thank you. For tonight. You were. He seemed to struggle for words. You were real. Isn't that what you hired me for? Something flickered in his expression. Yes. Of course. I climbed out of the car and didn't look back. But I felt his eyes on me all the way to my building's door. In my apartment, I finally let myself process. Julian Blackwood owned my paintings. He'd bought them before this arrangement, which meant, what? That he'd actually noticed me that night? Actually liked my work? Or was this part of his due diligence? Research his fake girlfriend thoroughly, buy her art to make the story more believable? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Sleep well, Charlotte. Tomorrow we convince the world. J. I saved his number, staring at those words. Convince the world. But who was going to convince my heart this was all pretend? Chapter 4, Blurred Lines. The next 6 days were a crash course in Julian Blackwood's life. Charity luncheons where my thrift store sensibilities screamed at the waist. Art gallery openings where people praised work I found mediocre. Business dinners where deals worth millions were discussed over dessert. And through it all, Julian's hand in mine. His arm around my waist. His lips brushing my temple. Every touch was torture. We were getting too good at this. The way he'd pull me close and I'd melt into him without thinking. How I'd reach for his hand automatically. The inside jokes that developed, making us laugh at inappropriate moments. On day 6, we attended a fundraiser at a museum. I'd changed in Julian's penthouse, a routine now. He'd watched me descend his staircase in a midnight blue gown, and the hunger in his eyes had been unmistakable. You're staring, I'd said. You're stunning. It's the dress. It's you. Now, at the fundraiser, we danced. His hand spanned my lower back, holding me close. We swayed to something slow and romantic, surrounded by other couples, but I only saw him. You're thinking too hard, he murmured against my ear. How can you tell? You get this little crease between your eyebrows. His thumb smoothed over the spot. What's wrong? Everything. I'm falling for you, and this ends in 3 weeks. Nothing. Just tired. His arms tightened around me. We can leave early if you want. And disappoint your adoring public? I nodded toward the crowd watching us. They're eating this up. Let them. He spun me, and I laughed despite myself. When he pulled me back, our faces were inches apart. Charlotte. Yes? This. He seemed to struggle. You're very good at this. So are you. Maybe too good. My heart stuttered. Was he saying what I thought he was saying? But then Yamamoto appeared, congratulating us on being a beautiful couple, and the moment shattered. Julian's mask snapped back into place, all charm and professional distance. In the car afterward, the silence was heavy. Julian. We have a problem, he interrupted. My stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Yamamoto wants to have dinner with us. At his hotel suite. Private. Intimate. He wants to really get to know us as a couple. Isn't that good? It means we need to be even more convincing. No audience to play to. Just us and them. We can handle that. He turned to me, and there was something tortured in his expression. Can we? Before I could ask what he meant, his phone rang. He answered with a curt, "Blackwood." I watched his face harden as he listened. When? Damn it. I'll handle it. He hung up, jaw tight. I need to go to the office. Emergency. At midnight? Welcome to my world. He signaled the driver. We'll drop you first. I could come with you. Keep you company. The offer surprised us both. This wasn't in the contract, keeping him company during late-night work crises. His eyes searched mine. You don't have to. I know. The office at night was different. Quieter. Most lights were off, but Julian's floor blazed. He worked at his desk while I explored, finding his private bookshelf behind a panel. You like poetry? I called, seeing collections by Pablo Neruda and Rumi. Is that surprising? For a ruthless CEO? A little. He appeared beside me, reading over my shoulder. I love you without knowing how, or when, or from where, he quoted softly. Neruda understood obsession. The way he said it made my skin prickle. Is that what his poetry is about? Obsession? Love and obsession are often indistinguishable. I turned to face him, and suddenly we were too close in the dimmed office. Do you believe that? I believe anything that consumes you that completely is dangerous. Have you ever felt that way? Consumed? His hand came up, fingers ghosting along my jaw. I'm starting to. My breath caught. Julian. This is a mistake, he whispered, but he was leaning in. Terrible idea, I agreed, rising on my toes. Our lips met, and it was nothing like the practice kiss. This was desperate, hungry, real. He backed me against the bookshelf, his body pressing into mine, one hand fisted in my hair while the other gripped my hip. I gasped against his mouth, and he swallowed the sound, deepening the kiss until I couldn't think, couldn't breathe, couldn't remember why this was supposed to be pretend. His lips moved to my neck, trailing fire down to my collarbone. Charlotte, he groaned against my skin. We should stop. Yes, I panted. We should. Neither of us stopped. His mouth found mine again, and I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him impossibly closer. He lifted me slightly, and my legs instinctively wrapped around his waist. The shift in position made us both moan. Mr. Blackwood? A voice called from the hallway. We froze. Julian set me down with shaking hands, stepping back quickly. His hair was messed from my fingers, his lips swollen, his eyes wild. Shit, he breathed. A security guard appeared. Oh. Sorry, sir. Didn't realize anyone was here. Just finishing up some work, Julian said, his voice remarkably steady. We're leaving now. The guard nodded and left. Julian and I stared at each other in the aftermath. That can't happen again, he said finally. Agreed. This is professional. Completely professional. We got carried away. Totally carried away. But we both knew we were lying. In the car, we sat on opposite sides, as far apart as possible. The air crackled with tension. Charlotte, Julian said as we pulled up to my building. What happened tonight? Was a mistake, I finished. I know. Let's just forget it. He looked like he wanted to argue but nodded instead. Diana will send tomorrow's schedule. I practically ran from the car. In my apartment, I touched my swollen lips, reliving every second of that kiss. This was supposed to be pretend. Transactional. No one gets hurt. But standing in my dark apartment, I realized the truth. I was already hurt. Because in 3 weeks, this would end. And Julian Blackwood would go back to his real life while I went back to mine. I'd fallen for the fake boyfriend. And that wasn't in the contract at all. My phone buzzed. A text from Julian. I lied. I can't forget tonight. But we have to try. This arrangement has rules for a reason. Sleep well, Charlotte. I stared at those words, my heart breaking and soaring simultaneously. Good night, Julian. See you tomorrow. But as I lay in bed, unable to sleep, I knew tomorrow would only make things harder. Because now I knew what his kiss tasted like. What his hands felt like tangled in my hair. What his body felt like pressed against mine. And I wanted more. God help me, I wanted everything. Day 7. Exactly 1 week into our 30-day arrangement. I stood in Julian's penthouse, trying to calm my nerves about the intimate dinner with the Yamamotos. We'd been careful since the office incident. Professional touches only. No lingering glances. Definitely no more midnight kisses that set my world on fire. It was killing me. Julian emerged from his bedroom in a navy suit that should be illegal. Our eyes met, and something electric passed between us before we both looked away. Ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. The Yamamotos had a suite at the peninsula. Akiko greeted us warmly, ushering us into an elegant living area where Kenji waited. Dinner was traditional Japanese cuisine, served by private chefs. The conversation flowed easily, too easily. I was getting better at being Julian's girlfriend. Or maybe I was just being myself, and that's what made it convincing. You two have a special connection, Akiko observed, watching Julian refill my wine glass without being asked. How did Julian propose the relationship? I imagine he was very direct. I laughed. Actually, I made the first move. Julian's head snapped toward me. We hadn't discussed this. But I was committed now. At the gala. He was standing alone by the Monet, looking so serious. I brought him champagne and told him he looked like he needed to smile. He told me he didn't smile for strangers. So I introduced myself. It was close enough to the truth to feel real. Julian's hand found mine under the table, squeezing gently. When I glanced at him, his expression was soft. Dangerous. And when did you know? Kenji asked Julian. That she was the one? The question hung in the air. This wasn't part of our script. Julian didn't hesitate. His eyes locked on mine with an intensity that stole my breath. The first time I saw one of her paintings. Before I even knew who she was. There was this piece, a woman alone in a crowded subway, surrounded by people but completely isolated. And I thought, this person understands. Someone who could paint loneliness that accurately had felt it. Had survived it. I wanted to know that person. My throat tightened. He was talking about Crowded Room, the painting I'd created during my darkest period after moving to New York. And then I met her, he continued, still holding my gaze. And she was everything the painting promised. Brave and fragile and real. She didn't care about my money or status. She looked at me like I was just a man. That's when I knew. Tears pricked my eyes. This was supposed to be fake. But the way he was looking at me, the raw honesty in his voice, nothing about this felt fake. That's beautiful, Akiko said softly. Kenji smiled. I see now why you're so protective of this relationship. She grounds you. She does, Julian said, and there was no lie in his voice. After dinner, we stood on the hotel's rooftop terrace while the Yamamotos took a phone call inside. The city sparkled below us, but I barely noticed. You didn't have to say all that, I said quietly. About my painting. I meant every word. I turned to face him. Julian, what are we doing? Following the contract. That's not what's happening, and you know it. He stepped closer, and I should have stepped back. I didn't. What do you want me to say, Charlotte? That I think about you constantly? That I bought those paintings because seeing your work felt like meeting someone I'd been searching for? That every time I touch you, I have to remind myself it's supposed to be pretend? My heart hammered against my ribs. Say you want this to be real. I can't. Why not? Because in 3 weeks, you'll go back to your life and I'll go back to mine. Because I don't do relationships, real ones. Because I'll eventually disappoint you like I disappoint everyone. That's not. My father built this company, he interrupted harshly. I was supposed to follow in his footsteps. Be the perfect son, the perfect CEO. But I watched him sacrifice everything for success. His health. His marriage. Any chance at happiness. My mother left when I was 12 because he chose board meetings over her. He died at 52, alone in his office, surrounded by deals and contracts and nothing that mattered. The pain in his voice broke my heart. Julian. I swore I'd never be like him. Never let anyone close enough to hurt when I inevitably chose the company over them. So I don't do real, Charlotte. I do transactions. Contracts. Arrangements that end cleanly. What if it doesn't have to end? He cupped my face, thumbs brushing away tears I didn't know I'd shed. It always ends. Better to end on our terms, with the contract, than to burn each other down trying to make this work. You're scared. Terrified, he admitted. Because for the first time in my life, I want something more than I want the company. And that terrifies me. He kissed me then, slow and deep and devastating. A kiss that tasted like goodbye even though we still had 3 weeks. When we pulled apart, we were both shaking. We can't do this again, he whispered against my forehead. It's too hard. Okay. I'm serious, Charlotte. We need boundaries. Rules. Back to the contract. I understand. But as we returned inside to the Yamamotos, both of us smiling and playing our roles perfectly, I knew the truth. The contract was already broken. Had been from the moment his lips first touched mine. And in 3 weeks, when this ended, it was going to shatter us both. The next morning, Diana picked me up with a new mission. I needed to move into Julian's penthouse. Yamamoto's assistant mentioned they might drop by unannounced, Diana explained as we rode the elevator. They want to see how you two live together. Mr. Blackwood has already arranged a guest room for you. A guest room. Of course. Professional. Julian was in a meeting when I arrived, so staff showed me to my space, a gorgeous room with its own bathroom and a view that rivaled his. My few belongings looked pathetic in the massive closet. Charlotte. Julian's voice made me turn. He stood in the doorway, tie loosened, looking exhausted. Diana told you? Yeah. Guest room is lovely. Something flickered across his face. You'll have complete privacy. My room is on the other side of the penthouse. Good. Great. Perfect. We stared at each other, the awkwardness thick. About last night, he started. We agreed. Boundaries. Back to the contract. Right. But he didn't move. Charlotte, I need you to understand. What I said on that rooftop, it wasn't. Please don't. I held up a hand. Don't tell me it didn't mean anything. I can't hear that right now. His jaw clenched. It meant everything. That's the problem. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at it, cursing. I have to take this. Make yourself at home. What's mine is yours. He left, and I collapsed on the designer bed. What's mine is yours. If only. Living with Julian was exquisite torture. We'd see each other at breakfast, him in suits, me in pajamas until Diana arrived with the day's outfit. We'd have coffee, discuss the schedule, be painfully polite. Then we'd go to whatever event required us, and the touching would start. His hand on my lower back. My fingers in his hair. Stolen kisses for the cameras that lasted just a heartbeat too long. We were playing a dangerous game, pretending to pretend. On day 9, we attended a tech conference where Julian gave a keynote. I watched from the front row as he commanded the stage, brilliant and passionate. Afterward, admirers swarmed him, mostly beautiful women who touched his arm too long, laughed too loudly. Jealousy, green and ugly, twisted in my gut. Mr. Blackwood, a stunning blonde, purred. We should discuss that investment opportunity. Over drinks? I'm afraid my evening is spoken for. Julian's arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me against him. Charlotte and I have plans. The blonde smile was ice. Of course. How lovely. When she left, I tried to step away, but Julian held firm. Don't, he murmured against my ear. I need you close right now. Why? Because if I let go, I'll say something stupid. Like asking you not to look at any other men the way you were looking at me during my speech. My breath hitched. How was I looking at you? Like you were proud of me. Like I mattered. Like you. He stopped himself. Never mind. Julian. We should go. We have that dinner reservation. But there was no dinner reservation. He'd lied to escape. Instead, we ended up at a tiny hole-in-the-wall pizza place in Brooklyn. How did you find this place? I asked, biting into the best slice I'd ever tasted. I used to come here in college. Before the company, before the money. When I could still be anonymous. He smiled, and it transformed his face. No one here cares who Julian Blackwood is. Who are you when you're not Julian Blackwood, CEO? He considered this sauce on his thumb, looking younger than I'd ever seen him. I don't know anymore. That's the terrifying part. I've been playing that role for so long, I'm not sure there's anyone underneath. I see someone underneath. What do you see? Someone who quotes Neruda. Who buys art that makes him feel something. Who brings his fake girlfriend to a Brooklyn pizza place instead of a 5-star restaurant because he needs to remember who he was. I reached across the table, taking his hand. I see someone real, Julian. Even when you're trying to hide. His fingers tightened around mine. You scare me, Charlotte. Good. You scare me too. We sat in that cramped pizzeria, holding hands across a wobbly table, and for a moment, we weren't CEO and struggling artist. We were just two people who'd found something unexpected and had no idea what to do with it. Day 12 brought a crisis. Julian's ex-girlfriend, a supermodel named Sienna, gave an interview claiming he'd never gotten over her, that his new relationship was a rebound. It's nothing, Julian insisted, pacing his office while I perched on his desk. Sienna loves attention. This will blow over. Yamamoto might see it. Then we'll be more convincing. More convincing than what? Julian, we're all ready. I trailed off. Already what? Everything. Too much. In too deep. Very convincing, I finished weakly. He stopped pacing, standing between my knees. Close. Too close. Are we convincing, Charlotte? Or are we just being? My heart raced. I don't know anymore. His hands landed on my thighs, and heat flooded through me. I think about you constantly. When I wake up, I listen for sounds of you in the kitchen. During meetings, I check my phone hoping you've texted. At night, I lie awake knowing you're just down the hall, and it takes everything in me not to. Not to what? I whispered. Not to come to your room and finish what we started in my office. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only feel his hands burning through my dress, his body radiating heat, his dark eyes boring into mine. Julian. Tell me you don't feel this, he demanded. Tell me I'm alone in this madness, and I'll back off. I'll be professional. But if you feel even a fraction of what I'm feeling. I kissed him. Just grabbed his face and kissed him with everything I'd been holding back. He groaned, yanking me against him, hands tangling in my hair as he kissed me back like I was oxygen and he was drowning. We can't, he gasped between kisses. The contract? Screw the contract. He lifted me off the desk, and I wrapped my legs around him as he carried me to the leather couch. We tumbled onto it, a tangle of limbs and gasping breaths. His hands roamed my body, setting every nerve on fire, while my fingers worked at his tie, desperate to feel skin. Charlotte, he groaned as my lips found his neck. If we do this, everything changes. Everything already changed. He pulled back, breathing hard, looking at me with such raw hunger it made me ache. I don't know how to do this. A real relationship. I'll mess it up. Then we'll mess it up together. The merger is an excuse. You're scared. So am I. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. Something cracked in his expression. The walls he'd built so carefully crumbled, and underneath was just a man who wanted desperately to believe in something real. I want to try, he whispered. God help me, I want to try. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing his cheekbones. Then try. He kissed me again, slower this time, like a promise. His hands gentled, exploring rather than grasping. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. We have to be smart about this, he murmured. The merger can't fall apart. If we're doing this for real, we need to keep pretending we're pretending. At least until the contracts are signed. So we're, what? Secretly real while pretending to be fake? A genuine laugh escaped him, rare and beautiful. We're idiots, is what we are. The best kind of idiots. He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my nose, mapping my face like he was memorizing it. Stay with me tonight. In my room. I just want to hold you. Nothing else. Just be with you. Okay. That night, I stood in Julian's bedroom doorway in borrowed pajamas, his t-shirt that fell to my thighs. He sat on the edge of his massive bed in just sleep pants, and the sight of his bare chest made my mouth go dry. You can still change your mind, he said softly. I crossed the room, climbing onto the bed beside him. I don't want to. We lay facing each other on top of the covers, close but not touching. The city lights filtered through the windows, painting everything in silver. Tell me something true, Julian said. Something you've never told anyone. I moved to New York 5 years ago with so much hope. I thought talent was enough. But this city has a way of showing you how small you are. There were nights I sat on my fire escape, wondering if I should just go home, admit defeat. Then I'd paint something, and for a few hours, I'd remember why I came here. His hand found mine in the space between us. I'm glad you stayed. Your turn. Tell me something true. He was quiet for a long moment. After my father died, I found his journal. Entries from the last years of his life. He wrote about regrets. How he'd traded everything meaningful for success. His last entry, written the night before his heart attack, said he'd give everything back, the company, the money, all of it, for one more day with my mother. To tell her he was sorry. That he chose wrong. Tears slid down my cheeks. Julian. I swore I'd never have those regrets. Better to never love at all than to love and destroy it through neglect. But lying here with you, I'm wondering if I got it backwards. Maybe the real regret is never trying at all. I moved closer, and he pulled me against his chest, his arms wrapping around me securely. His heartbeat thundered beneath my ear. I'm terrified, he admitted into my hair. Me too. But less terrified than I was yesterday. I tilted my face up, and he kissed me, soft, sweet, unhurried. Like we had all the time in the world instead of 18 days. Charlotte? Thank you. For what? For seeing me. The real me. Not the version everyone else sees. I snuggled deeper into his embrace. You're worth seeing. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and for the first time since this arrangement began, I let myself hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could make this work. The next morning, I woke alone. Panic flared until I found the note on Julian's pillow. Early meeting. Didn't want to wake you. You look peaceful when you sleep. Last night was everything. J. I pressed the note to my chest, grinning like a fool. Diana found me in the kitchen, still smiling. Her expression was carefully neutral. Good morning, Charlotte. We have a full day. The charity gala is tomorrow night, the big one. Everything needs to be perfect. I'll be ready. She hesitated. Can I speak freely? Of course. I've worked for Julian for 8 years. I've seen him with many women. He's never looked at any of them the way he looks at you. She paused. I just hope you both know what you're doing. Diana, the contract? I know what the contract says. I also know what I see. She softened slightly. He's a good man under all that armor. But he's been hurt. His father's death, his mother's abandonment, it shaped him in ways he doesn't even realize. Just be careful with him. And yourself. After she left, I sat with her words. We were playing with fire, Julian and I. But some things were worth burning for. That evening, Julian came home early, loosening his tie as he walked through the door. His eyes found me on the couch, and his whole face lit up. Hi, he said, suddenly boyish. Hi yourself. He crossed the room, pulling me up and into his arms. The kiss was hungry, desperate, like he'd been thinking about it all day. I hated being away from you, he murmured against my lips. It was 6 hours. 6 hours too long. We ordered Thai food and ate sitting on his living room floor, legs tangled together. He told me about his day, the frustrating meetings, the small victories. I told him about a painting I'd started that morning, inspired by the view from his windows. Show me, he demanded. I pulled up the photo on my phone. It was rough still, but capturing 2 figures in a window, the city behind them, reaching for each other across empty space. It's us, he said quietly. Yeah. His thumb traced over the screen. You make me want to be braver. You're already brave. Running a company, making impossible decisions every day. That's not bravery. That's obligation. Bravery is what you did, moving to a new city with nothing but talent and hope. Bravery is letting someone in when they could destroy you. His dark eyes met mine. You're the brave one, Charlotte. Then we'll be brave together. He pulled me into his lap, and we kissed until the food went cold. His hands slid under my shirt, and I gasped at the contact. We should stop, he breathed, but his hands kept exploring. Definitely should stop, I agreed, my fingers working at his buttons. We made it to his bedroom in a trail of discarded clothes. He laid me on the bed, and the way he looked at me, like I was precious, miraculous, made tears sting my eyes. Charlotte. His voice was rough. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. This changes everything. I know. He smiled then, devastating and real. Good. What happened next was tender and fierce, desperate and gentle. We took our time learning each other, whispered confessions between kisses, gasped promises against heated skin. When we finally came together, it felt like coming home. Afterward, we lay tangled together, sweaty and breathless and happy. I started. Yeah. We just. Definitely. I laughed, and he pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my temple. No regrets, he asked quietly. None. You? My only regret is not doing this sooner. He tilted my face up. I'm all in, Charlotte. Whatever this is, wherever it goes. I'm done pretending. What about the merger? Yamamoto? We'll figure it out. Together. He kissed me softly. But tomorrow, at the gala, we still play the game. Keep up appearances until the contracts are signed. Then I tell the world you're mine for real. If you'll have me. My heart soared. I'll have you. We made love again, slower this time, and I let myself believe in the impossible. That the contract we'd signed was just the beginning. That love could bloom from pretense. That we could actually make this work. I should have known better. I should have known happiness this bright casts the darkest shadows. But wrapped in Julian's arms, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear, I let myself believe in fairy tales. Tomorrow would prove me wrong. Chapter 9, The Gala. The night of the charity gala, I stood in front of Julian's full-length mirror, barely recognizing myself. The gown was crimson red, hugging every curve before flowing to the floor. Diamonds glittered at my throat, borrowed, but breathtaking. Julian appeared behind me, devastating in his tuxedo. His eyes met mine in the mirror, dark with desire. You're going to stop hearts tonight, he murmured, hands settling on my waist. That's the idea. I turned in his arms. We need to be perfect tonight. Yamamoto will be watching. We are perfect. He kissed me softly. Last night proved that. Heat flooded through me at the memory. Julian. I know. Business first. But after tonight, after the contracts are signed, I'm taking you away somewhere. Just us. No pretense, no cameras. Just me and you and all the time in the world. I'd like that. His phone buzzed. Diana, letting us know the car was ready. Showtime, Julian said, offering his arm. I took it, pushing down the flutter of nerves. Tonight was the culmination of 2 weeks of work. We just had to get through it. The Plaza Hotel ballroom was transformed into something from a dream. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow light across hundreds of guests dressed in their finest. Cameras flashed, capturing New York's elite in all their glory. Julian's hand never left mine as we navigated the crowd. We smiled, we charmed, we played our parts perfectly. But now, every touch meant something. Every kiss was real. There's Yamamoto, Julian murmured, guiding me toward where the businessman stood with his wife. Julian. Charlotte. Akiko greeted us warmly. You both look wonderful. As do you, I said sincerely. Her kimono-inspired gown was stunning. Kenji shook Julian's hand. Tomorrow, we sign. This merger will change both our companies. I'm looking forward to it, Julian said smoothly. I must say, Julian, you've changed these past weeks. Softer. Happier. This young woman is good for you. Julian's arm tightened around my waist. She's everything. We danced, we mingled, we were perfect. I was starting to relax when I saw her. Sienna. The ex-girlfriend. Stalking toward us in a dress that was barely there, fury in her eyes. Julian, she purred, ignoring me completely. We need to talk. There's nothing to discuss, Sienna. Really? Because I find it interesting that your sudden relationship started exactly when you needed to clean up your image for the merger. Her eyes flicked to me, cold and calculating. Tell me, how much is he paying you? My blood ran cold. Julian's entire body tensed. That's enough, he said, voice deadly quiet. Oh please. I know you, Julian. You don't do relationships. So either she's deluded enough to think she's special, or she's smart enough to accept payment. Sienna smiled, vicious. Which is it, sweetheart? Sienna, leave. Now. Julian stepped between us. But the damage was done. People were watching. Whispering. And across the room, I saw Yamamoto frown. Poor thing, Sienna cooed, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Did he tell you it was real? Julian Blackwood doesn't do real, darling. He does transactions. And you're just his latest acquisition. You have no idea what you're talking about, I said, finding my voice. Don't I? Ask him about the contract, Charlotte. Oh yes, I know about the contract. Julian's lawyer is an old friend. A contract for 30 days, $50,000, to play the doting girlfriend until the merger closes. Tell me that's not a transaction. The room spun. People stared. Cameras flashed. And Julian's face had gone pale. Charlotte, he started. Is it true? I whispered. Did people know? About the contract? My lawyer had to draft it. I trusted him to be discreet, but he told his friends. Who told their friends? And now everyone knows. Humiliation burned through me. I'm the joke of the evening. The girl who was paid to be your girlfriend. No. Charlotte, that's not, we're real now. What we have is real. How can I believe that when everything started as a lie? Yamamoto appeared, face grave. Julian, perhaps we should speak. Privately. Julian looked torn between following the businessman and staying with me. Business won. It always would. I'll be right back, he said desperately. Don't leave. Please. But I was already moving toward the exit, tears blurring my vision. I heard him call my name, but I didn't stop. I'd been so stupid. Believing a fairy tale. Thinking I could be more than a transaction to a man who'd literally hired me to pretend. Outside, the cold November air slapped me. I stood on the plaza steps, shivering in my borrowed diamonds, wondering how I'd gotten here. Charlotte. Julian's voice behind me. I didn't turn. You should go back inside. Yamamoto needs you. I don't care about Yamamoto right now. Yes, you do. You care about the merger, the company, the image. That's what this was always about. He grabbed my arm, spinning me to face him. His eyes were wild, desperate. It was about that. In the beginning. But not anymore. Charlotte, I love you. The words hit me like a physical blow. Don't. I love you, he repeated fiercely. I'm in love with you. Have been for days. Maybe since that first kiss. Maybe since I saw your painting and recognized a kindred spirit. You don't even know how to love, Julian. You said so yourself. You do transactions. Contracts. Clean endings. I was wrong. I was scared. But being with you taught me I was capable of more. For how long? I demanded. How long before you choose the company over me? How long before I become another regret, like your father's journal? He flinched like I'd slapped him. That's not fair. None of this is fair. I fell in love with you, Julian. Real, stupid, painful love. And I don't know what's real anymore. Was any of it real? Or was I just playing my part so well I convinced myself? Everything between us was real, he said desperately. Every touch, every kiss, every word. Except the words in the contract. Those were real too. $50,000 for 30 days. Transaction complete. Charlotte, please. I need space. I need to think. I pulled away from him. I'm going home. My real home. Not your penthouse. Not your world. Don't do this. We can figure it out. Together, we can. You should go back inside, I interrupted, numb now. Save the merger. That's what matters. You matter. Then prove it. I met his eyes, and my heart broke all over again. Choose me, Julian. Right now. Walk away from that gala, from Yamamoto, from the merger. Choose me. The conflict on his face told me everything. I thought so, I whispered. I walked away, and this time, he let me go. I spent the rest of that night crying in my shabby apartment, still wearing the crimson gown. My phone rang constantly, Julian calling, texting, desperate messages I couldn't bring myself to read. At 3 a.m., there was a knock on my door. I knew who it was before I opened it. Julian stood there, still in his tuxedo, bow tie undone, looking devastated. I left, he said hoarsely. The gala, Yamamoto, all of it. I left. Julian. You were right. I was choosing wrong. Again. Just like my father. So I walked out. Told Yamamoto I needed to fix something more important than any merger. Told him I was in love with you and nothing else mattered. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks. What did he say? That I was a fool if I let you go. A broken laugh escaped him. Then he said any man who'd walk away from $800 million for love was someone he could trust in business. The merger's still happening, Charlotte. We sign tomorrow. You got everything. Everything except what matters most. He stepped closer. I'm sorry. For not choosing you immediately. For letting you walk away. For every second I made you doubt what we have. I don't know how to trust this, I admitted. I don't know what's real. Then let me show you. He pulled something from his pocket. Papers. He held them out. I took them, confused. Then I realized what I was holding. Our contract. Torn in half. No more contracts, Julian said. No more transactions. Just us. Real, messy, complicated us. I don't know how to do this, Charlotte. I'll probably mess it up 100 times. But I want to try. I want to choose you every single day, in every single moment. Julian. My voice broke. I love you. Not because you're part of a deal or an arrangement. I love you because you see me. Because you're brave and real and you make me want to be better. Because when I'm with you, I finally understand what my father was trying to say in that journal. You're what matters. Not the company. Not the money. You. I launched myself at him, and he caught me, holding on like I might disappear. We kissed through tears, desperate and real and perfect. I love you too, I gasped between kisses. So much. I'm sorry I doubted. Don't apologize. I gave you every reason to doubt. But no more. From now on, you come first. Always. He carried me inside, kicking the door closed. We made love in my cramped apartment, on my lumpy mattress, surrounded by my unsold paintings. And it was more perfect than anything in his penthouse could ever be. Because it was real. Because we chose it. Because love, I learned that night, isn't about perfect settings or grand gestures. It's about choosing someone. Over and over. In big ways and small. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. The next morning, wrapped in Julian's arms on my terrible mattress, I asked the question I'd been avoiding. What happens now? We're from different worlds, Julian. You have galas and board meetings. I have art shows and coffee shops. Then we'll figure out a way to exist in both worlds. Together. He kissed my forehead. Move back in with me. Not as part of a contract. As my girlfriend. My real girlfriend. We'll take it slow, figure it out as we go. What about the media? They're going to have a field day with the contract revelation. Let them. I'll release a statement. Yes, we started as an arrangement. But we fell in love. Happens in the movies all the time, he added with a smile. This isn't a movie. No. It's better. Because it's ours. I traced patterns on his bare chest. I'm scared. Me too. But I'm more scared of losing you. You won't. I'm all in, remember? Even when you're a stubborn, workaholic billionaire who thinks he knows best. He laughed, the sound free and genuine. And even when you're a messy artist who leaves paint everywhere and hogs the covers. I do not hog the covers. Charlotte. I woke up at 4 a.m. freezing because you'd wrapped yourself in a burrito of blankets. We dissolved into laughter, and then into kisses, and then into something deeper that made us both forget about contracts and mergers and everything that wasn't this. The next few days were a whirlwind. Julian held a press conference, telling the world the truth. Yes, our relationship had started as a business arrangement, but it had evolved into something genuine. The media went crazy, but public opinion was surprisingly sympathetic. Everyone loves a good romance story. Yamamoto called Julian personally to say he'd never been more certain about a business partner. A man who's honest about his journey to love is a man I can trust with my company, he'd said. I moved back into Julian's penthouse, but this time, my paintings went up on the walls. My mess invaded his pristine space. And slowly, it stopped being his space and became ours. You're redecorating my entire life, Julian observed one evening, finding paint supplies scattered across his formerly minimalist living room. Is that a complaint? He pulled me into his arms. That's an observation. And I love it. We settled into a rhythm. Julian still worked long hours, but he came home to me. I still painted, but now I did it surrounded by someone who believed in my talent. He introduced me to collectors and gallery owners. I introduced him to dive bars and street art scenes. We learned to compromise, to communicate, to choose each other even when it was inconvenient. It wasn't perfect. We fought about his workaholic tendencies, about my stubborn independence, about how to load the dishwasher. But we always came back together. Always talked it through. Always chose us. 3 weeks after the Gala disaster, Julian took me to the Brooklyn pizza place where we'd had our first real moment. "I have something for you," he said after we'd finished our slices. He pulled out a small velvet box, and my heart stopped. "Relax," he said with a smile. "It's not that. Not yet. We're taking this slow, remember?" Inside was a key. "I had new locks installed on the penthouse," he explained. "Diana and the staff have copies. But this one is just for you. Because it's your home too now. For real. No contract. No end date. Just home." Tears pricked my eyes. "Julian, I know it's not as romantic as I could make it. But I wanted you to know. You're not a guest. You're not temporary. You're home, Charlotte. My home." I kissed him across the wobbly table, tasting pizza and promise and forever. "I love you," I whispered. "I love you too. More than I ever thought possible." We went back to the penthouse, our penthouse, and made love like we had all the time in the world. Because we did. No more contracts. No more countdowns. Just us, choosing each other, one day at a time. 2 weeks later, day 27 of our original 30-day contract, though neither of us was counting anymore, I woke to find Julian's side of the bed empty. Unusual. He typically held me until the last possible moment before work. I found him in his office, staring at his computer screen with an expression I couldn't read. "Julian? What's wrong?" He turned, and there was something haunted in his eyes. "My mother contacted me. She saw the press coverage about us. She wants to meet you." I knew the story. His mother had left when he was 12, unable to handle his father's obsession with work. Julian hadn't seen her in 20 years. "What did you tell her?" "Nothing yet." He scrubbed his hands over his face. "I don't know what to say. Part of me wants to tell her to go to hell. She abandoned me." I moved to him, wrapping my arms around his shoulders from behind. "And another part? Wants to know why. Wants to understand. Wants." He trailed off. "Wants your mom," I finished gently. His hand came up to cover mine. "Is that pathetic?" "It's human. Julian, you don't have to see her. But maybe hearing her side of the story would help. Give you closure, if nothing else." He was quiet for a long moment. "Will you come with me? If I decide to meet her?" "Of course. Whatever you need." He pulled me around and into his lap, burying his face in my neck. "What did I do to deserve you? You tore up a contract." A laugh huffed against my skin. "Best decision I ever made." 3 days later, we sat in a quiet cafe in the West Village, waiting. Julian's knee bounced under the table, the only sign of his nerves. I held his hand, offering silent support. Then she walked in. I recognized her immediately. Same dark eyes as Julian, same sharp cheekbones. She was elegant, well-dressed, nervous. Her eyes found her son, and they filled with tears. "Julian," she breathed, approaching slowly, like he might bolt. "Thank you for agreeing to see me." "Mom." The word sounded rusty and used. "This is Charlotte. My girlfriend. It's lovely to meet you." Her smile was genuine. "I've read so much about you both. The way Julian talked about you in that press conference. I've never heard him sound so happy. We sat. Ordered coffee no one touched. And then Julian's mother, Rebecca, began to talk. She told us about the marriage that had slowly suffocated her. How Julian's father had been warm and loving before the company consumed him. How she'd tried to compete with board meetings and merger deals for his attention and always lost. How she'd sunk into depression, feeling invisible in her own home. I didn't leave because I didn't love you, she said to Julian, tears streaming now. I left because I was drowning, and I knew if I stayed, I'd take you down with me. I thought you'd be better off with your father, with stability and resources, Anne. Without a mother? Julian's voice was sharp. I know. I know how it sounds. I've replayed that decision a million times, wondering if I made the right choice. Probably I didn't. But I was broken, Julian. I needed to fix myself before I could be any good to you. You could have called. Written. Something. Your father forbade it. Part of the divorce settlement. He said if I wanted out, I was out completely. And I was so desperate to escape, I agreed. She wiped her eyes. I've regretted it every day since. So why now? Julian asked. Why reach out after 20 years? Because I saw you on TV, talking about Charlotte, about choosing love over business. And I realized you'd figured out what your father never did. What I never did. That people matter more than success. And I thought, maybe it's not too late for us. To know each other. To try. Julian's hand tightened around mine. I could feel him trembling. I don't know if I can forgive you, he said quietly. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just a chance. To be in your life, however you'll allow it. To know the incredible man you've become. I'm only incredible because I had to figure out how to be, without parents to guide me. The words hung heavy in the air. Rebecca flinched but nodded. You're right. And I'm so sorry. I watched Julian war with himself, the hurt child and the mature man, battling for dominance. I need time, he finally said. To process this. But maybe we could try. Slowly. Coffee occasionally. Getting to know each other again. Rebecca's face lit up. I would love that. Thank you, Julian. Thank you. After she left, Julian and I sat in silence. Did I make the right choice? He asked. Only you can answer that. But I think you made the brave choice. The choice that opens doors instead of closing them. He pulled me close. I keep thinking about what she said. About my father choosing work over her. Over me. And how I almost did the same thing at the gala. But you didn't. You chose differently. That's what matters. Because of you. You made me brave enough to choose differently. No. You did that yourself. I just held up a mirror. We went home, and it really did feel like home now, and spent the rest of the day wrapped around each other, processing, healing, growing. Day 30 arrived without fanfare. I woke in Julian's arms, our normal now, and realized this was supposed to be the end. The day I collected my final payment and walked away. Instead, I was more embedded in Julian's life than ever. What are you thinking about? Julian murmured, still half asleep. That today was supposed to be the end. His arms tightened around me. And it feels more like a beginning. He smiled against my hair. Good. Because I have plans for you that extend well beyond 30 days. Oh. What kind of plans? He rolled us so he was hovering over me, his dark eyes warm. Well, There's the gallery showing next month where we're debuting your new collection. Then there's the summer vacation I'm planning to Greece. And somewhere in there, probably sooner rather than later, I'm going to ask you to marry me. My heart stopped. What? Not today, he said quickly, seeing my expression. I know we're taking it slow. But Charlotte, I need you to know, this isn't temporary for me. You're it. The only one I want. So when I do ask, and I will ask, I need to know, would you say yes? Tears blurred my vision. Are you seriously pre-proposing to me? I'm a businessman. I like to know the potential outcome before I make major moves. I laughed, crying, pulling him down to kiss me. Yes, you idiot. When you actually ask, the answer will be yes. His smile was blinding. Good. That's good information to have. We made love slowly, tenderly, celebrating the end of what we'd been and the beginning of what we were becoming. Later that day, Julian surprised me with one more gift. Close your eyes, he instructed, leading me through the penthouse. When I opened them, I was standing in a room I'd never noticed before, a spare bedroom that had been completely transformed. The walls were lined with windows for natural light. There was an easel, a proper work table, shelves stocked with professional supplies. Everything an artist could dream of. Your studio, Julian said. I know you love painting with the city view. Now you can do it whenever inspiration strikes. No more cramped apartment. No more makeshift spaces. I turned to him, overwhelmed. Julian, this is too much. It's not enough. Charlotte, I want you to be happy here. To feel like this is your home, not just mine. Paint everywhere. Make a mess. Fill this place with your creativity and chaos. That's what makes it home. I threw my arms around him. I love you. So much. I love you too. More every day. That evening, we had dinner with Diana, who'd become a friend over the past weeks. So, she said, sipping her wine with a knowing smile. Day 30. How does it feel? Julian and I exchanged glances. Like the real beginning, I said. I knew it, Diana crowed. I knew from day one. The way he looked at you in that first meeting? I'd never seen him look at anyone like that. You could have warned me, Julian said dryly. And ruined the fun? Never. Besides, you needed to figure it out yourselves. She raised her glass. To Charlotte and Julian. May you continue to surprise each other, challenge each other, and love each other. Even when he's being an impossible workaholic. Hey, Julian protested. And even when she leaves paint on every surface including the ceiling, Diana continued. That was one time. I laughed. We toasted, and I realized how much my life had changed in 30 days. I'd gained not just Julian, but this found family. Diana, who protected us both. The staff who'd welcomed me warmly. Even Rebecca, slowly working her way back into Julian's life. 1 month after our contract ended, my first real gallery show opened. Julian had used his connections to get me into a prestigious Soho gallery, but the work, that was all mine. I stood in the pristine white space, surrounded by my paintings. The collection was called 30 Days, pieces I'd created documenting my journey with Julian. The fake becoming real. The walls coming down. Love emerging from transaction. You're brilliant, Julian murmured, standing beside me. He'd barely left my side all evening, proud and supportive and perfect. The art critic from the Times is here, I whispered nervously. Then she'll see what I see. A talent that can't be ignored. The opening was a success. Red dots appeared next to paintings, sold. Critics praised my raw emotional honesty and unique perspective on modern love. By the end of the night, I'd sold 12 pieces and had commissions for 6 more. "You did it," Julian said as we slow danced in the empty gallery after closing, music playing from his phone. "You're officially a successful artist. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. I just opened a door. You walked through it on your talent alone." I rested my head on his shoulder, swaying to the music. "Thank you. For believing in me. Always. Charlotte, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about." "Sounds serious." He pulled back to look at me. "The Yamamoto merger is complete. Successful beyond projections. And Kenji has asked me to oversee the Tokyo office expansion. It would mean spending a few months in Japan." My stomach dropped. "Oh. But I was thinking, what if we went together? You've never traveled much. We could explore Japan, you could draw inspiration for new work. Make it an adventure." "Julian, I can't just leave. I have the gallery now, commissions." "I know. And if you don't want to go, I'll figure out another way. Send someone else." "I'm not leaving you, Charlotte. Not for business. Not for anything." I stared at him, seeing the truth in his eyes. He really would turn down the opportunity if I asked. Would choose me over the expansion, over the company. What if? I considered. What if I came for part of it? Maybe 2 months? I could work on a new collection inspired by Tokyo. The gallery would love that angle. His face lit up. "Really? You'd do that? For you? For us?" "Yes. Besides, I hear the art scene in Tokyo is incredible." He kissed me, and I tasted joy and promise and future. "We're really doing this," he murmured. "Building a life together." "Yeah. We really are." Week 4. We were in Tokyo for 3 weeks when everything fell apart. It started with an email. I was working in our hotel suite, sketching cherry blossoms from the balcony, when my laptop pinged. An email from an address I didn't recognize, subject line, "You should know the truth." I almost deleted it. Almost. Instead, I clicked. "Dear Charlotte. You don't know me, but I know you. My name is Marcus Hartley. I was Julian Blackwood's roommate at Harvard. I'm writing because I think you deserve to know who you're really involved with. The contract girlfriend story is charming, isn't it? Fake relationship becomes real. Billionaire falls for normal girl. Very fairy tale. Except Julian has done this before. Senior year of college, Julian dated my sister, Emma. He was different then, warmer, more open. They fell in love. He promised her everything. Then his father had a heart attack, and Julian had to take over the company. He became cold, distant. Emma tried to hold on, tried to compete with his obsession with Blackwood Industries. Eventually, he ended things. Told her he couldn't balance a relationship and the company. Emma was devastated. It took her years to recover. I'm not saying Julian is a bad person. But he has a pattern. He gets close to women, makes them believe they're different, then inevitably chooses the company. His father's ghost drives every decision he makes. You seem like a good person, Charlotte. I saw your art opening coverage. You're talented, genuine. I just thought you should know what you're walking into. Emma thought she was different too. Be careful. Marcus. I read it 3 times, hands shaking. It couldn't be true. Julian had changed. He'd proven he could choose love over business, over and over. But a small, insidious voice whispered, had he, though? Or had circumstances just never forced him to really choose? The merger was complete. The contract signed. The Tokyo expansion was happening on schedule. What would happen if he had to choose? Really choose? Between me and everything he'd built? My phone rang. Julian. Hey, I answered, trying to sound normal. Hi. I'm going to be late tonight. Crisis with the Shibuya office. Might be midnight before I'm back. Oh. Okay. You sound upset. What's wrong? Nothing. Just miss you. I miss you too. I promise I'll make it up to you tomorrow. We'll spend the whole day together. Just us. We'd made that promise before. Broken it before. Sure. Tomorrow. After we hung up, I stared at the email, doubt creeping in like poison. Julian came home at 2 a.m. I pretended to be asleep. He kissed my forehead gently, whispered I love you, and fell asleep holding me. I lay awake, Marcus's words echoing in my head. The next morning, I brought it up over breakfast. Did you ever date someone named Emma Hartley? Julian's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. Where did you hear that name? So it's true. He set down the cup carefully. Emma and I dated in college. It ended badly. Why? Her brother emailed me. Told me about your pattern. How you always choose the company over relationships. His jaw tightened. Marcus always hated me. Blamed me for Emma's pain. But Charlotte, that was over 10 years ago. I was different then. Were you? Or are you just better at hiding it now? What are you asking me? I'm asking if I'm Emma 2.0. If eventually, you'll get bored or overwhelmed, and you'll choose Blackwood Industries over me. He stood abruptly. That's not fair. I've proven to you, over and over, that you come first. Have you, though? Julian, you worked late 4 nights this week. You canceled our dinner plans twice. Yesterday, you forgot we were supposed to visit that gallery I wanted to see. Because I'm managing a multi-billion-dollar expansion. You knew this would be demanding when you agreed to come. I agreed because you said we'd do it together. That it would be an adventure. But I barely see you. And when I do, you're exhausted and distracted. So what, I'm supposed to ignore my responsibilities? Let the expansion fail? No, you're supposed to find balance. Like you promised you would. We stared at each other across the breakfast table, the distance between us suddenly feeling like miles. Charlotte, Julian said, voice strained. I love you. That hasn't changed. But yes, I'm busy right now. This expansion is critical. In a few months, things will calm down. And then what? There'll be another crisis, another expansion, another reason why the company has to come first? That's not how it is. Isn't it? I pulled up the email on my phone, showing him. Marcus says this is your pattern. That you'll always choose Blackwood Industries in the end. Julian read it, his face darkening. Marcus is bitter and manipulative. Emma and I were kids. I'm not that person anymore. Then prove it. How? What do you want from me? I want you to remember why we're here. Not for the expansion. For us. I want you to leave work at a reasonable hour. To prioritize our relationship the way you promised you would. I'm trying, Charlotte. But I have obligations. And I'm one of them. Or am I just the convenient girlfriend who's supposed to understand when business comes first? Don't twist this. You knew who I was when we got together. I knew who you were trying to be. But maybe Marcus is right. Maybe you're just your father's son, destined to sacrifice everything for the company. The words hung between us, poisonous and cutting. Julian's face went cold. If that's what you think of me, maybe we need to reassess this relationship. Maybe we do. He grabbed his jacket. I'm going to the office. We can discuss this when you're being rational. Rational? Julian, I'm being realistic. But he was already gone, the door slamming behind him. I sank into a chair, shaking. What had just happened? One email, and we'd gone from happy to this? But maybe Marcus had just exposed the truth I'd been avoiding. Maybe fairy tales didn't exist. Maybe the man who'd signed a contract for a fake girlfriend would always be transactional at his core. My phone buzzed. A text from Julian. I love you. But I won't apologize for working hard or taking my responsibilities seriously. If that's not enough for you, then maybe Marcus is right. Maybe I am incapable of giving you what you need. I stared at the message, tears streaming down my face. Was he right? Was I asking too much? Or was I finally seeing clearly what I'd been too in love to notice? Either way, something between us had cracked. And I didn't know if we could fix it. Julian didn't come home that night. Or the next. He sent texts, short, perfunctory updates. Working late. Sleeping at the office. Need space to think. I spent those days alone in Tokyo, wandering the city, questioning everything. Had I overreacted? Or had I finally stood up for what I needed? On the third night, he came home. It was past midnight. I was still awake, unable to sleep without him. We need to talk, he said, and my heart sank at his tone. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, the first time we'd maintained distance in months. I've been thinking, Julian started. About Marcus's email. About what you said. And you're right. Hope flickered. I am my father's son. I do prioritize the company. And I don't know if I can change that, Charlotte. It's who I am. It's in my blood. The hope died. Julian. Let me finish. I thought I could do both. Be the CEO and the boyfriend. But these past weeks have shown me how hard that is. I'm failing at both. The expansion is behind schedule because I'm distracted thinking about you. And you're miserable because I'm never around. So what are you saying? He met my eyes, and there was such pain in his expression. I'm saying maybe we rushed into this. Maybe we got caught up in the fairy tale and ignored reality. Don't do this. My voice cracked. Don't use work stress as an excuse to push me away. I'm not pushing you away. I'm being honest. Charlotte, I love you. But love isn't enough if I can't give you what you need. What I need is you. Present, engaged, choosing us over work sometimes. That's not unreasonable. It is for me. He stood, pacing. You want balance, but I don't know how to do that. My father couldn't. I watched him destroy his marriage trying. What makes you think I'll be different? Because you're not him. You proved that when you walked out of the gala. When you chose me. And look where we are now. 3 months later, fighting about the exact same things my parents fought about. I felt something break inside me. So that's it? You're giving up? Because things got hard? I'm being realistic. I'm not built for this, Charlotte. I thought I was, but I'm not. You're scared, I said desperately. You're scared of ending up like your father, so you're sabotaging us. Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm finally seeing clearly. We started as a transaction. Maybe that's all we were ever meant to be. The words were a knife to the heart. You don't mean that. Don't I? He looked at me, and his eyes were cold. Distant. The CEO mask firmly in place. We had an arrangement. It became more. But maybe it was always destined to end. Julian Blackwood, if you walk away from me right now, if you choose the company over us, you're proving Marcus right. You're becoming exactly what you swore you'd never be. Then I guess he was right about me all along. He grabbed his keys and wallet. At the door, he paused. I'll have Diana arrange your flight back to New York. The penthouse is yours for as long as you need it. And Charlotte. I'm sorry. For all of it. Then he was gone. I sat in that hotel suite, in a foreign country, completely alone, and finally let myself fall apart. I flew back to New York the next day. Diana met me at the airport, her expression sympathetic. He's an idiot, she said simply. He's scared. Same thing sometimes. The penthouse felt like a mausoleum. My paintings on the walls mocked me. My studio sat empty. Everything reminded me of Julian, his cologne lingering on my pillow, his coffee mug by the sink, his presence in every corner. I lasted 3 days before I started packing. You don't have to leave, Diana said, helping me box up my art supplies. He meant it when he said you could stay. I can't live in his space, Diana. Not when we're. I couldn't finish. Over? The word felt wrong. We weren't over. We were broken. Shattered. But not over. At least, I wasn't over him. He's miserable, Diana offered quietly. Working 18-hour days. Barely sleeping. Snapping at everyone. Good, I said, then immediately felt guilty. I don't mean that. Yes, you do. And you're entitled. He's being a self-destructive fool. I moved back to my old apartment, which felt even more cramped after months in Julian's penthouse. My roommate had found a new place, so I had it to myself. Small blessing. The gallery called. My work was in demand. Collectors wanted more. I should have been thrilled. Instead, I felt hollow. 2 weeks after Tokyo, I got a text from Rebecca, Julian's mother. Can we meet for coffee? I've been trying to reach Julian, but he won't respond. I'm worried about him. And about you. We met at the same West Village cafe where Julian had first seen his mother after 20 years. He's shutting down, Rebecca said without preamble. Becoming his father. Cold, distant, married to the company. I can't fix him, Rebecca. I tried. But he has to want to change. I know. But Charlotte, I need to tell you something. About why I really left Julian's father. I waited. David, Julian's father, was warm and loving when we met. Passionate about life, about me. Then his father died, and David inherited the company. And something switched off in him. He became obsessed with proving he was worthy of the legacy. Every decision was about the company. I stopped existing to him. Julian told me. But what he doesn't know is that 3 months before I left, David came to me. Said he wanted to change. That he'd hire someone to run the company, that we'd start over. I believed him. Started planning our second chapter. She paused, eyes distant with memory. Then there was a crisis. A major deal falling apart. David said he'd handle it quickly, then we'd make the change. But the crisis lasted weeks. Then months. And I realized he'd never actually let go. The company would always come first. So I left, not because I didn't love him, but because I couldn't watch him kill himself for a company that would replace him the moment he was gone. Why are you telling me this? Because Julian is at that same crossroads. He's choosing the company like his father did. But unlike David, Julian knows what he's losing. He's not blind to it. He's just terrified. Of what? Of failing. Of being like his father. Of disappointing you. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. He's so afraid of becoming David that he's making the exact same choices. I let that sink in. What do you want me to do? Fight for him. Not by asking him to choose between you and the company, but by showing him there's a third option. Integration. Balance. That he can honor his father's legacy without destroying himself like his father did. Rebecca, I can't save him. He has to save himself. I know. But maybe you can remind him why it's worth trying. I thought about Rebecca's words for days. Part of me wanted to fight for Julian. But another part, the part that was still hurt and angry, wanted him to come to me. To prove he could choose us. The answer came from an unexpected source. Kenji Yamamoto called me directly. Ms. Hayes, I hope I'm not overstepping. But I've been observing Julian since Tokyo, and I'm concerned. You and everyone else. He's excellent at his job. The expansion is ahead of schedule now. But he's become mechanical. No passion. No joy. He reminds me of someone I used to know. Who? Myself. 20 years ago, I prioritized work over everything. Lost my first marriage because of it. It took almost losing my daughter to realize success meant nothing if I had no one to share it with. What changed? I did. I hired people I trusted, delegated, created boundaries. I'm still successful. But now I leave work at work. My family comes first. Julian doesn't know how to do that. Then teach him. Charlotte, I've been in business 40 years. I've met thousands of CEOs. Most are capable. Some are brilliant. Julian is extraordinary. But these past weeks, I've watched him become merely capable. The spark is gone. The passion. And I realized you were that spark. Tears pricked my eyes. He chose the company over me. He chose fear over love. There's a difference. And if you love him, truly love him, you'll help him see that. How? By not giving up. By fighting for what you built together. By reminding him that the greatest legacy isn't a company. It's love. That night, I made a decision. I called Diana. I need to see him. Can you arrange it? He's in back-to-back meetings until 8. I'll wait. I showed up at Blackwood Tower at 7:30, wearing the crimson dress from the gala night. The security guard remembered me, let me up without question. Diana met me at the elevator. He doesn't know you're here. Good. Charlotte, he's not in a good place. Neither am I. That's why we need to talk. She led me to his office, knocked, then slipped away. What? Julian's voice was sharp. I opened the door. He looked up from his laptop, and the expression that crossed his face was everything: shock, longing, pain, hope. Charlotte. My name was barely a whisper. Hi. We stared at each other across the office. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, his suit rumpled, stubble on his jaw. What are you doing here? He asked. Reminding you of something. Of what? That you're not your father. He flinched. Charlotte. Let me finish. I walked toward him slowly. Your father died alone, full of regrets, wishing he'd chosen differently. You know what you're missing. You know what you're giving up. So if you let me walk away, if you choose the company over us, it's not because you're like him. It's worse. It's a conscious choice to repeat his mistakes. I don't know how to do both, he said desperately. I've tried, and I fail. I can't be the CEO you need and the partner you deserve. Wrong. You can't be perfect at both. That's different. Julian, I don't need perfect. I need present. I need you to try. To delegate. To create boundaries. To remember that the company will survive without you micromanaging every detail, but we won't survive without effort. What if I keep failing? Then we'll fight about it. And we'll figure it out. And we'll keep trying. That's what love is. Not perfection. Persistence. He stood, moving toward me, stopping just short of touching. I've been miserable without you. Good. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Good. You should be miserable. You broke my heart. You broke us. And if you weren't miserable, it would mean I was replaceable. Never. His hands came up, framing my face. Charlotte Hayes, you are utterly irreplaceable. I've been a fool. Yes, you have. I let fear win. Yes, you did. I'm sorry. I'm so incredibly sorry. I know. Can you forgive me? I looked into his dark eyes, so full of pain and hope and love, and made my choice. I can forgive you. If you promise to keep trying. If you promise that next time things get hard, you'll fight for us instead of running. I promise. Charlotte, I swear to you, I'll spend every day proving I can do this. That I can be the partner you deserve. Then kiss me already. He did. And it was like coming home after a long, painful journey. His lips found mine with desperate hunger, his hands tangling in my hair as he pulled me against him. I love you, he gasped between kisses. God, I love you so much. I love you too. Even when you're an idiot. Especially when I'm an idiot? Especially then. We kissed until we were both breathless, until the pain of the past weeks started to fade, replaced by hope. Come home, Julian whispered. Please. The penthouse is empty without you. Only if you promise to actually be there. Not just physically. Actually present. I promise. I'll cut back hours. Delegate more. Create boundaries. Whatever it takes. And therapy. We should probably do couples therapy. He pulled back, surprised. Then nodded. Yes. Okay. If that's what you need. It's what we both need. To learn how to do this right. Deal. He kissed me again, softer this time. Thank you. For not giving up on me. For fighting when I was too scared to. Thank you for being worth fighting for. We stood in his office, wrapped around each other, and I felt the broken pieces starting to mend. It wouldn't be perfect. We'd have more fights, more challenges, more moments of doubt. But we'd face them together. Because love isn't about avoiding the storms. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And Julian Blackwood, CEO, billionaire, and recovering workaholic, was finally learning to dance. 1 year later. I stood in the Louvre, staring at my painting hanging among the masters. My first international exhibition. A dream I'd barely let myself imagine. You look beautiful when you're proud of yourself, Julian murmured, sliding an arm around my waist. Stop. You'll make me cry, and my makeup took an hour. He laughed, pressing a kiss to my temple. Okay, new rule. No crying until after the reception. The past year hadn't been perfect. We'd had our struggles. Sessions with Dr. Chin, our therapist, where we'd learned to communicate better, to identify patterns, to choose each other consciously. Julian had restructured Blackwood Industries, bringing in a COO to handle day-to-day operations. He still worked long hours sometimes, but he came home. Created boundaries. Prioritized us. And I'd flourished as an artist, my career taking off in ways I'd never imagined. "Your mother just arrived," Julian said. "She's crying happy tears in the next gallery." Rebecca had become a fixture in our lives, Sunday dinners, gallery openings, holidays. Slowly, carefully, she and Julian were rebuilding their relationship. "And mine texted that they're landing in an hour," I added. My parents, who'd flown in from Ohio, still baffled by but supportive of my life with Julian. Our families. Merging. Becoming something new. "Hey," Julian said softly, turning me to face him. "Before this reception starts and we're mobbed by critics and collectors, I need to tell you something. You're not breaking up with me in the Louvre, are you? Because that would be epically bad timing." He grinned. "Opposite, actually." Then he dropped to one knee. My heart stopped. Around us, other museum visitors gasped, phones appearing to capture the moment. "Charlotte Hayes," Julian said, pulling out a velvet box. "1 year ago, you accused me of being scared. You were right. I was terrified. But you taught me that being scared and being brave aren't mutually exclusive. You taught me that love is worth the risk. That choosing vulnerability is the bravest thing anyone can do." Tears streamed down my face, so much for the makeup rule. "You've made me better. Happier. More human. And I want to spend the rest of my life choosing you. Every day. In every moment. Will you marry me?" He opened the box, revealing a stunning ring, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds. "It's blue," I said stupidly through tears. "Like the dress I wore to our first event." "You remember." "I remember everything." "Is that a yes?" "Yes. Yes, of course yes." He slipped the ring on my finger, then stood, lifting me and spinning me around while tourists applauded and cameras flashed. "I love you," he said against my lips. "I love you too. Even though you totally violated the no crying rule. Sue me." Diana appeared, shaking her head with a smile. "Only you would propose in the Louvre. The press is going to have a field day." "Let them," Julian said, not taking his eyes off me. "I'm done hiding how I feel about her." The reception was beautiful. My art was celebrated. Critics praised my emotional depth and fearless vulnerability. But the best part was watching Julian work the room, charming collectors and critics, then catching my eye across the gallery and smiling, that real smile he reserved just for me. Later, back in our Paris hotel suite, we stood on the balcony overlooking the city. "Do you ever think about where we started?" I asked. "The contract. The arrangement. Every day. Any regrets?" He pulled me against him, my back to his chest, his arms wrapped securely around me. "Only that I didn't see it sooner. That you were exactly what I needed. What I'd been searching for. Technically, you hired exactly what you needed. Best transaction of my life." I turned in his arms, looping mine around his neck. "Not a transaction anymore. No. Now it's forever." Forever is a long time. Not long enough. We kissed as the Paris lights sparkled below us, two people who'd started as a business arrangement and ended up finding something neither had been looking for. Love. Real, messy, complicated, beautiful love. The contract had ended at 30 days. But our story? That was just beginning. when he discovered my secret.